I want to talk to you today as we approach what could be potentially quite challenging economic times over the next little while. I want to talk to you about the Canary in the Mineshaft. Now, we all know the story about the Canary in the Mineshaft. You know, they put it in back in the day. If the Canary struggled for oxygen, struggled to breathe, you knew that there was oxygen dipping down. In the same way, there are numbers in our businesses that if we monitor those, we'll know our proverbial Canary in the Mineshaft. And I want to talk to you about that because over the next little while, I think that's going to be absolutely critical. There's no question that in business, we all want to know the key numbers, right? The customers, revenue, and profit. And typically, business owners do know that. They know their customers, they know their revenue, they know their profit. But here's the thing: those are outcomes. They're not actually the inputs that we need to get our hands really dirty on. And I want to tell you why. The simple thing is that in any business, right, you build a chassis of the business, and then you build on top of it. What you can see in front of you on the screen is what I call the business chassis, and effectively, that could be the Porsche, it could be a Volkswagen or Volkswagen, it depends where you're from, it depends how you pronounce that. And on top of that, they've all got four wheels, all got big engines, or nowadays they might have a big battery. But on top of that, you build the different type of car. And depending on what business you're in, it's exactly the same thing. Four wheels and an engine. And I want to talk to you about what those differences are on top of it. And bear in mind, again, coming back to the numbers that we need to know in our businesses. So the first thing, the numbers that you need to know. You need to know the number of leads you're getting, the number of inquiries you're getting. And again, it doesn't matter what sort of business you're in. You need to know that. You need to know how much of that you're converting into actual customers, how many times they're buying from you, so the number of transactions. Now, if you're a cafe or something like that, you might, excuse me, you might have bigger numbers, you might have lower numbers if you're a big corporate business. But you need to know then actually how much each customer is spending with you, the average dollar sale, right? If you go to McDonald's, that people talk about, would you like fries with that? Increasing that number makes a difference. Of course, you also want to know your margins because without that, you don't know what profit you're making. So those five numbers are absolutely critical, and I'll talk to you now about why. So the other point is, people often say, "Oh, I hear people say to me, Chris, we think our numbers are this, we think our leads are that. We don't really test it. We've got a bit of a thumb suck." That's not good enough. You need to test and measure. You need to know for certain what your numbers are, because by doing that, it goes from a guessing game to a knowing game. And bear in mind, the game of business you need to know what you're doing. So testing and measuring, very important when you work with someone like myself. We'll put those systems in place to make sure that you've got it for you, right? So let's put some numbers in there for a moment and let's see what impact working on those five areas in your business, why this is such an important part of what we do, right? So let's assume you could be a retail business. Let's, for argument's sake, say it's a retail business. Get about 4,000 leads in a year. You convert, and then make it easy because make the maths easy. 25% gives you 1,000 customers, right? That's the outcome. Number of leads multiplied by the conversion rate gives you 1,000 customers. Again, make it easy. Let's say each customer buys from us twice, and let's say they spend $100 each time. That means our revenue is $200,000. Again, straight maths, no problem at all with that. Again, 25% margin, and you get a profit of $50,000. Wonderful, you're doing great. Now, I was in a workshop last week, a strategy session with a big company, data warehouse company, and they said they felt they could get 10% improvement across each of those areas. Shouldn't be too difficult. Let me show you what that means in a business where you get a 10% improvement, right? So 4,000 becomes 4,400. 25% doesn't become 35%, it becomes 27.5% for those of you that might be mathematically challenged. And that means you get 1,210 customers, 1,210 customers. Now note already, you haven't got a 10% improvement, you've got slightly more than 10%, right? And as we go through it, instead of buying from us twice a year, they'll now buy 2.2 times a year, right? And similarly, the average dollar sale goes from 100 to 110. Look what's happened to your revenue. It's not gone up by 10%. It's gone up by $92,000, not by $20,000, by $92,000. Again, improve the profit margins. We find ways to do that. If you work with me, we'll analyze your costs, we'll analyze your inputs, make sure that your margins are getting better, and that goes up to 27.5%. Look what's happened to the profit, right? By managing those five areas, you've made $30,000 difference, right? Which is not 5,000, which is a 10%, you've made a massive difference. It's a 46% revenue increase and a 61% profit increase. Now tell me any business person that doesn't want that. And this is why that Canary in the Mineshaft, understanding where those numbers are, where they matter, excuse me, why that really is important. If your leads are dipping down, and I've seen a couple of businesses in the last little while see that happen, we know what responses to do, we know what strategies to put in place. If your number of transactions are slipping backwards, again, there's an appropriate way to respond to that. There's a less appropriate way. Similarly with each of those five areas, average dollar sale, margins, etc. Let's just, by way of having a bit of fun, Look what happens if you put 100% in. I'm not going to belabor this. Look what happens if you really, really, really go gangbusters on this thing, right? And work hard with a coach or with some sort of advisor. Look what's happened to your revenue. 3,200 from 200,000, and imagine the profit. 50,000 goes to 1.6 million dollars. That's the thing that you want to know. The canary in the mineshaft, how to respond to those different numbers, manage them appropriately. And bear in mind, never, ever, ever wish that your life was easier. Wish that you and work hard on you becoming better, because your business is only limited by how good you are and the investment you're making yourself. Because if you work harder on yourself and you're doing your job, that's when you're going to win. If you'd like to know more, give me a shout. I'll put my details in the bottom of the video. Give me a shout. I would love to help you look at those 5 numbers in your business. And in the meanwhile, have a fantastic week. All the best. Bye-bye.